This is it, Mike. We're on. We are on live, the Pete Sousa Show. Live here from, I said live again. One more time. We're live. Live at Alico will be a pretty cool, that'd be a cool concert, like album. But we are at the Alico building, 21st floor, Pete Sousa Show. Big show for you today. Dan Ingham, Oklahoma State alum, going to stop by in person to talk to us a little bit about, one, he's got picks for this week, and we can't wait to get to them. And two, I'm going to take him inside Oklahoma State, ask him some questions. Seems like the program is in free fall. They take on Baylor this week, and could be two programs going in totally different directions. Could be an opportunity for Oklahoma State to stop the bleeding. But I don't know, man. They are bleeding profusely right now in Stillwater. Not a good look for them as far as their football program is going. Also want to thank our sponsors, Crawford Austin Properties, of course, Slovakics, and we got to thank Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, they have a lot of core values. One of them is being remarkable. I got a chance to do a lot of stuff with Daniel and the Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers around Be Remarkable, and it's a special group of people over there. And I would urge you to check out the Be Remarkable project. That's on the KWTX website. I no longer work for KWTX. I just love the Be Remarkable program. But Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, thank you so much to them for being a sponsor. Also want to say thanks to our friends at Socorro Family Ford and D1. As we get into the show today, a couple things I want to start off with. We're going to talk first about Kobe Bryant, second about Penn State, and third, a little bit of Baylor hoops. But Kobe Bryant, I was almost frustrated today. You ever have something happen where when I was a kid, and I think I've said it on this show or another show, this is when you get, this is, by the way, people getting weird. I'm weird, okay? I have problems with my brain, with my ego. And actually, I have a program called Alcoholics Anonymous that I go to, Alcoholics Anonymous, that kind of gets that straight. I am an alcoholic, by the way. I don't just show up at meetings to have something to do. But I felt like Kobe Bryant kind of stole my thunder today. Like I have any thunder to steal. I saw that he used to listen to the Halloween theme to get ready to play basketball games, like the John Carpenter theme from the movie Halloween, which I used to listen to before I played football games. Now, big difference between Kobe Bryant and I, right? And I'd never known that about him. And when I saw it, I thought, wait a minute, where's this been all my life? Because I'm terminally unique. I thought that I was the only person in the world that listened to that, but pretty cool that Kobe Bryant listened to that too. I'd never heard that before. And around now, it is an amazing, amazing song. John Carpenter, Halloween. If you listen to it, actually, you know what, Mike, can we tee up? Ready? Hold on. Thanks, Mike. Right here when it comes in. I mean, thank you very much, Mike. That first of all was on the spot work by our own Fred Norris here, and also it gives you a little bit of chills. We're 7 days from Halloween, and that song is probably one of the more underrated soundtrack songs in the history of movies, and certainly one of the most underrated holiday songs of all time. And yes, I consider Halloween a holiday. Of course I do. Right here. See that? All right. So the Penn State folks are dressing up. I don't know. I don't want to say anything super negative, but if you haven't seen it yet, James Franklin, the head coach of Penn State, who is by all accounts a good football coach and a good man. He had a problem at Vanderbilt. He had players that get accused of sexual assault. And I shouldn't even said that. Not like this is an epidemic that follows this guy around, but he had a former player who, a Nittany Lions defensive end, I'm reading now from an ESPN article, Jamal Lyons, he's charged with felony rape, aggravated assault without consent. This is some graphic stuff. There's another linebacker, a former, I should say, both these guys are former linebacker, a 19-year-old who was charged with felony rape, aggravated assault. Just some ugly stuff. And one of them released on $500,000 bond. The other released on a $400,000 bond. Preliminary hearing scheduled for next Monday. So, that is way above my pay grade. We're not going to litigate that here, but clearly we have a situation surrounding the Penn State football program. And he is speaking to the media, and the first question is asked, hey, like, would you care to comment on this? Or somebody does their job as a journalist. They ask a question about these situations. And James Franklin doesn't even acknowledge the person, leaves the podium, and waves his sports information guy out there who's got a piece of paper, which is the statement that Penn State released to the media. And the guy reads the statement, the guy who's doing his job, right? And then the guy leaves. Actually, what happened, somebody asked, James Franklin asked, would you like to hear the statement again? And they said yes. And they waved the PR guy. He comes on, reads the statement. He leaves. Somebody asks another question about it. James Franklin leaves again and waves the PR guy over to talk to the media about it. Somebody who's been on both sides of this, right? In the media world, looking for a story, searching for accountability or information regarding a story, and somebody who's been in the sports information position. And I got a chance to catch up with one of my mentors over this past weekend in Colorado, Craig Miller, who was a sports information guy at Villanova, was a sports information guy for the Dream Team in 1992. This guy's a legend in the PR world. And that's why I think a lot of my history and experience, I tend to go on the side of the player and the coach and the institution and the franchise, because I've always said, and I say it here, there's just so much that we don't know about what's going on. And even like when we cover sports, and I do the same stupid stuff when I get like as a hardcore fan or I assess someone's play, it was cool. We do a GXG show here and we feature Baylor athletes. GXG is, they work with Baylor athletes. And it's a really cool mission that they have. Look it up. I don't want to screw it up and try to describe it because I don't know exactly. But the kids come in here, and I was talking to Jordan Wesley, who's an amazing baseball player for Baylor. The guy just jacks home runs, has great power. But we were talking about the specifics of what goes into just approaching a single at bat. And there's so much that goes into even that one instance that, as a good friend of mine likes to say, far be it from me to put myself in their shoes and try to act like I know what's going on, because I don't. And so that's a lot of context to say, like, look, I usually side on the side of the program or whatever. That was such a bogus move by Penn State to wave the guy out there with the statement, and then for James Franklin to wave him out again. There's not like so much you have to say, even with, and we'll talk about this, like even the Bill Belichick, Aaron Hernandez thing. Like Belichick stood up there himself and made a statement and really was like address the situation that what is going on and how this impacted people's lives is a tragedy. But we're not going to talk about it. There's really not much he could say. And in a situation like Penn State or college football, there's actually a little more accountability and relationship you have with the players, and you've recruited these guys. And in some instances, you're looked at as a mentor to them. So I just, the media and people that are really covering stories, as this is a big one, they're just looking for some information and a little bit of transparency. And James Franklin gave none of that. And it scares me a little bit as somebody who I really do want information out there and transparency. And I love, the celebration of sports. It's just a little worrisome that like we can kind of get Gestapo guardish with people. And I don't like seeing that. I like seeing coaches out there. I like seeing them speak to what's going on. And you don't have to, the thing about it is you don't have to say a lot. You really don't, but you need to say something and you need to be there. And I thought that, James Franklin is the guy, right? Football is the front porch of a college institution. He is the guy sitting on that front porch, right? And he went inside and he called out one of his kids to answer to a neighbor after something went wrong, and I thought that was just not the best look for Penn State. Again, I don't know. There's more to the story, but the optics are not good. They're not good at all. Yesterday, I had a chance to go visit with Cam and Matt Mosley. And I had like some good news to share, right? About Baylor's last year, the camera angle in the new Foster Pavilion, which is like a Rolls Royce of a building. And it has, not only is it slick, but it has a smaller footprint. You're closer to the court. I would encourage anybody in Texas to find a way to go to a game there. Just if it's a single game, it's one of those types of arenas where it doesn't matter who they're playing. Of course, if you can go see them play Kansas, that's awesome. But it's a gym you just got to be inside of. And I call it a gym because it has that feel. The fans are close to the floor. It's very loud. I had a chance to call the Iowa State game last year on ESPN2 that went into overtime. And it was a madhouse. And it was like a thrill to be in, again, a gym like that with such great energy. But the angle last year of games that were televised was too high, right? And Baylor has fixed it, with help from TV networks. And I had heard that this change was going down. And I shared it on the Matt Mosley show. And like the moment it came out of my mouth, I was like, did I need to say that? Like, that's good news. And I love Baylor, but I was like, geez, first of all, how much of a dope am I, right? I have a show here where why wouldn't I say something like that on my show and tweet it out myself, right? Because I don't have the balls. But let me go to Matt Mosley's show and say it there. Like, clearly, we're a work in progress over here at the Pete Sousa show. I kind of did like a drive-by. And then on the way home, I was talking to my girlfriend, Christy, and I was like, yeah, because I've had like also like, it's a weird world out there with social media, with information, with like, for me, it's like I'm conflicted, right? I love calling games. I do that. I love those opportunities, but also I love doing this show and I love hosting shows and stuff. And so it's weird because you have news like that. You got to find the integrity to break it on your own show. And also it was an innocuous thing. It's good news. But I've been burned before by sharing like news on broadcast television. So I think I have a little bit of PTSD. I'm super pumped that whole angle thing is changing. I'm not pumped about how I handled it just from a strategic standpoint and like, and Mosley tweets it, which Mosley's my main man. He gets a ton of engagement. Why wouldn't he tweet it? He told me he was going to. I said, yeah, go ahead. And then this morning, Baylor puts a photo up of their new arena or at Foster Pavilion, and they have a new camera angle, which Cam Stewart, not me, said that was quite the coincidence. So we'll lay that at Cam's feet. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's all good. And it's like, I need to trust. I think we all do. You need to trust your integrity sometimes. Like if I'm saying something to be like a shock jock, I probably need to press the pause button and try to have like a little bit of thought process between the thought and the actual act. But like something like that, I was excited to share. I love Mosey. I love Baylor. I love ESPN, and it's good news. And everybody loved it. And I should probably be more excited to put my name on something like that. But I think we all have those situations where we just kind of want to stay back and chill. So that was an interesting moment. Another interesting moment, if you saw yesterday, there was news released, or there was a quote, I think it was from DeMarcus Lawrence, who talked about how Jerry Jones has fans come through the facility, the Star in Frisco, while Cowboys players are working out. And some of the players some guys, I guess, are like, it's kind of weird, right? Like we feel like we're being observed. And I couldn't disagree more. I think that Jerry Jones is the boss, right? He owns the team. It's his building. I think you should get a heads up. like the TV station I used to work at, if you were in the middle of a project, and I mean, look, they would have all kinds of tours, especially before COVID, where there'd just be people rolling through the newsroom or rolling through the studio, and you'd be doing a show, and all of a sudden, like a group of 25 kids from Riker would walk inside. And by the way, if you're not good at your job, that gets like a little nerve-wracking. That can be nerve-wracking. So like, it happens, dude. And at the end of the day, it's a business, and it's cool to have people come to your job. Like, and it's cool that you can act a certain way. Like if DeMarcus Lawrence or any of those Cowboys players turns around and waves at those fans, like, you know, if it's a little kid, you're really having like a positive impact. You sort of have to, I don't know, there's two sides to it, but my side to it is like, get used to it. I think it's pretty cool that you have a job that people want to come by and check you out. At least that was my thought process. When I was working at the news, there would be a woman who I loved to death, but she wouldn't tell us. And we would be sitting in the newsroom, and maybe it's one of those times where I'm working hard, and a tour comes through the newsroom, which is like, okay, there's a group of like 25 kids. Like, who cares? Awesome. And then it's like, hey, would you mind telling them about how the news business works? And you're like, you know, I'm sitting here, I'm just trying to get through the day. And now all of a sudden I gotta, but it's like, hey, snap out of it. This is an opportunity. Again, you put on the happy face, you do the happy dance, and you get a chance to like be the guy that's, you know, talking about your profession to these kids. Mike, I see you nodding your head. Mike Hamilton, ladies and gentlemen.
I taught school for a while.
Yeah.
So that meant we went on a lot of field trips, you know, because who the hell wants to be in the school? And so I completely understand what you're talking about as far as like it being a goldfish bowl, you know, for the most part. And you can take it one of two ways, right? You can take it as it's interfering with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if the kids are unruly, that's on the people with the tour and they need to go.
Yeah.
But
that's a whole nother thing.
No, that's absolutely true. Yeah. Because sometimes they just walk off. Oh, they're going to get to talk to Pete for 5 minutes. So I'm going to go use the bathroom.
Yeah.
But you can take it one of two ways. It's either flattering.
Yeah.
Because that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Right. Or, oh, why are these pain in the ass kids here again?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. And honestly, at that point, it's all on you.
Yeah.
You know, it's on the way that you take it.
Totally.
So yeah, those kids,
it's an opportunity
for kids to have anybody either come to class or be able to go somewhere and see people. It will make their entire month, you know? And so to be able to do that and spend 5 minutes with them. Now, again, it needs to be regulated, you know, by the people who bring them, and they need to be good teachers.
And I would like to think at the Cowboys facility that's being regulated, but like if any player were to turn around and like give those kids a flex or whatever, that's a memory that they'd have for the rest of their lives. A story I heard, Charles Barkley and Michael Wilbon were hanging out somewhere. It was when Wilbon was helping Barkley write his book, and Wilbon had been on PTI for a few years, had obviously achieved success and notoriety. You know, and this is along with being a columnist for the Washington Post, but somebody comes up to them at the restaurant and disturbs them, whatever they're doing, right? Or interrupts them and walks away. And Wilbon is like huffing and puffing, like, oh, I can't believe that. And Charles Barkley turns to him and he says, dude, you know, you decided to go through their TV screen in their living room. Like, they didn't decide that. And that's what happens. You know, that's a part of the whole deal. And I think that that's a part of being a Dallas Cowboy too, that's a hell of a lot better than working in Jacksonville, where nobody gives a shit about the Jaguars right now. You know, even when the Cowboys are bad, people love it. People want to be around it. And I doubt that's interrupting the progress that any of the Cowboys are having, getting better. One thing too, I can look back, one of those days where I, you know, got over myself and was able to give a tour. One of the kids was this really cool young guy. He was kind of fresh. He had a lot to say. And he told me he was going to be a big time football player. And this is probably 2019. So we're talking 5 years ago. He is now a freshman at Texas Tech, Miguel Esquera, a really good cornerback out of Shoemaker High School. So it's also cool to be a part of that too, right? To see, oh my gosh, like I can identify with this kid playing big time college football. And maybe I'll be lucky enough to call a Tech game one day and bring that up. I did actually do a Shoemaker game. I think it was last fall, where he had like a pick pick six or something, and I got to tell that story, which was pretty cool.
The same kid?
Same kid, Miguel.
Oh, that's
Esquera.
really cool.
Yeah. And we both follow each other on Instagram now.
That is super cool. Yeah. No, I love that.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun, and I think that if you have an opportunity and you have a job where people love to come see you and hang out, like it goes back to Saturday Night Live. If you work at NBC, or even like the movie Private Parts, where Howard Stern takes you behind the scenes. He interviewed Bruce Springsteen yesterday. A lot of people, I haven't heard it yet. And honestly, I'm not as excited anymore, but that's a whole nother story. He's doing his radio show at WNBC, and they have a tour, a group going through. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I forget who plays the NBC page in the movie. But somebody comes through, and Howard and those guys are doing some crazy stuff in the studio, and people are freaking out. But it's performance-based industry, man.
Well, even 30 Rock. I don't know if you remember that when it was on, but I mean, they had a page. They had people coming through there all the time. I know it's a goofy comedy and everything, but it's still the same thing. You got to be ready for whatever comes through those halls, because it's a public space,
and it can be a pain in the ass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it can be, and I guess
so can everything. I mean, that's the way it is.
The one thing I think would be, I think everybody in life, like my father was. He did not like surprises. I mean, he didn't like anything that wasn't on the schedule for like a day or a month out. And even then he didn't like it. So it really didn't matter. Yeah, Mike's the same way, clearly. But it's when I think about people not liking surprises, like people in this world just want a heads up. They just want a heads up. Just like Mike, just like DeMarcus Lawrence, just like myself at KWTX. Cameron Stewart, you got something to say?
I think it was J-Ron Curse.
Oh, it was J-Ron Curse. There you go. That's my man, Cam. That's the journalist here. I mean, he is the one. Yeah. So, Cam, what do you think about that? Run over to just tell me quickly what you think. Your thoughts.
I'm actually a little bit on the other side, but I do agree that it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Like, I could see how it gets really annoying every day, especially when you're having a bad season, but you're a Dallas Cowboy.
Yeah.
Which kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cam Stewart. All right. He's coming up in the third segment. We'll step aside. Dan Ingham. We're efforting him right now. If he's not here, trust me, the show goes on, and here he is. Dan Ingham. The only person taller than me in this room right now. He might be better looking too. Coming back after Patrick Ewing doesn't count. All right, the Pete Sousa Show, powered by the Rogue Media Network. We got Dan Ingham coming up from First National Bank of Central Texas. Don't go anywhere. It's the